Marcus and I grew up as the twin engines. Same block, same dreams, same broke-ass pockets. The kind of friendship where we didn't need to explain ourselves, we just knew. But lately, I've been ghosting him hard, and he definitely noticed. Last week, he showed up at my place unannounced, standing in my doorway with this look on his face like, "All right, what the hell is going on?" I'd been sitting in the dark for hours, scrolling through his Instagram, watching him live the life I thought we'd both have by now. When he asked me straight up if he'd done something wrong, I just broke. I told him the truth. Watching him win at everything was killing me. He made the 30 under 30 list, bought his own place, gets invited to speak at conferences. Meanwhile, I'm in the same bedroom I had in high school, getting rejection emails, pretending I'm working on projects when really I'm just refreshing job boards and feeling like a ghost of who I used to be. The worst part? I wasn't happy for him anymore. Every time he'd call to celebrate something, I'd stare at my phone until it stopped ringing because I couldn't fake excitement when I felt like I was drowning. Like, he'd complain about navigating his team, and I'm sitting there thinking, at least you have a team to navigate. He didn't make me feel pathetic, though. He actually admitted he'd been scared to talk to me about anything real because he thought I'd see it as bragging. We just sat there for a minute. Him in the light of the hallway, me in the shadows of my room, and then he said it. "Leo, you're my brother. None of this shit matters if we're not running together." Before we begin, tell us in the comments from which city are you watching? And at the end, do not forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The thing about having a best friend since you were 9 is that you remember when neither of you had anything, which somehow makes it worse when one of you gets everything. Marcus and I met the summer his family moved into the apartment above mine. His mom couldn't afford to buy him a bike, and my dad had just left, so my bike became our bike. We'd take turns, one person pedaling, the other one standing on the back pegs, holding onto the rider's shoulders. We looked ridiculous. Two skinny kids on a rusted BMX that was too small for either of us, but we didn't care. We had a system. That bike took us everywhere. To the corner store where we'd pool our change to split a bag of chips. To the basketball court where we'd run the same plays until the streetlights came on. To the library where we'd sketch out business ideas on the back of homework we weren't going to turn in anyway. We had this whole plan. We were going to start a graphic design company together. Twin Engines Creative. I still have the logo I drew in 8th grade, tucked in a drawer I don't open anymore. Back then, we measured success differently. If we both made it home before curfew, that was a win. If we scraped together enough to see a movie, we were rich. If we survived another day in a neighborhood that didn't believe in us, we were unstoppable. We promised each other we'd make it out together. Same speed, same direction, same finish line. I guess we forgot to define what making it actually meant. Or maybe we just assumed it would look the same for both of us. It didn't. I developed this sick habit of hate scrolling through my phone at 2 a.m. like it was a form of self-harm. It started innocently enough, just checking notifications, seeing what people were up to. But then it became this ritual of psychological torture. I'd open Instagram and there'd be Marcus at some industry event, suit looking crisp, champagne in hand, tagged with "Future of the Game" by people who actually mattered. Scroll down. There's Jessica from high school announcing her promotion to senior director. Scroll again. There's Tyler, my college roommate, closing on his second investment property. Scroll, scroll, scroll. The notifications would pile up like little bombs going off in my brain. Ping. Someone got engaged. Ping. Someone launched their startup. Ping. Someone bought their dream car. The chat bubbles would float there on my screen, these cheerful little symbols of everyone else living while I was just existing. I'd go to LinkedIn because apparently I'm a masochist, and it was even worse. Thrilled to announce, humbled to share. Excited for this next chapter. Everyone humble bragging about their wins while I sat there with a profile that hadn't been updated in 18 months because what was I supposed to post? Thrilled to announce I applied to 7 jobs today and heard back from 0. The algorithm knew exactly what to show me too. It was like it could smell my inadequacy. Marcus's face would pop up everywhere. Panels he was speaking on, articles he was quoted in, photos of him at networking events with people whose names I recognized from Forbes lists. I'd tell myself I was just staying informed, keeping up with people. But really, I was building a case against myself. Every scroll was another piece of evidence that I was falling behind, that the race was over and I'd finished dead last. The universe has a sick sense of timing, I'll give it that. Marcus texted me a photo of his new car keys on the same day I got my 4th rejection email in a row. Not just any car either. A Tesla Model 3, midnight blue, sitting in the driveway of the condo he'd bought 6 months earlier. Finally pulled the trigger and kasata sharsh mapainat wantanish, the caption said, with that casual energy of someone for whom 30 grand isn't a life-altering decision. I was sitting on my childhood bed when I saw it, still wearing the button-down shirt I'd put on for a video interview that morning. The interviewer had smiled and said they'd be in touch soon, which is corporate speak for, "We're going with someone else, but don't want to say it to your face." I typed out, "Congrats, bro. She's beautiful," and stared at it for 5 minutes before hitting send. Even my thumbs-up emoji felt like a lie. The worst part about being the poor friend isn't the actual poverty. It's the invisible shift in the power dynamic. Suddenly, every hangout has this weird tension. When Marcus would suggest grabbing dinner, I'd have to do mental math in my head. Can I afford this without checking my account? If he offers to pay, do I let him, or does that make me pathetic? If I suggest somewhere cheaper, does he know it's because I'm broke? I started making excuses. Can't tonight, got work stuff. Rain check. I'm not feeling great. Maybe next week. Each lie building a wall between us, brick by brick, until I was trapped on the side I built myself. He'd bought himself a future. I couldn't even afford to buy myself out of my past. There's an art to ghosting someone you actually love. It requires more finesse than just disappearing. You can't just go silent, because that's too obvious. Marcus would have shown up at my door day 1 if I went completely dark. So instead, I perfected the slow fade. The "I'm still here but not really" technique that keeps you at arm's length without triggering alarm bells. Step 1. Always respond. Just never immediately. He'd text "Drinks Friday, aliro some," and I'd wait 4 hours before replying, "Aw man, just saw this. Already made plans." The delay made it seem like I was busy living my life instead of staring at his message trying to think of an excuse. Step 2. Be vague about those plans. Never specific. Got a thing works better than going to dinner with Sarah because specifics can be fact-checked. Vague is bulletproof. Step 3. Occasionally accept the invitation, but cancel last minute. "Dude, I'm so sorry, something came up with my mom." Boom. What's he gonna say to that? Family emergencies are the nuclear option, used sparingly, but they work every time. Step 4. Turn the conversation back to him. When we did talk, I'd ask about his projects, his work, his life. Keep him talking so he wouldn't notice I wasn't sharing anything real about mine. People love talking about themselves anyway. The calls got less frequent. The invite slowed down. I told myself this was what I wanted, space from the constant reminder of my failures. But really, I was just preemptively ending the friendship before he could realize I wasn't worth keeping around anymore. It's easier to walk away than to be left behind. At least that's what I kept telling myself every time his name lit up my phone, and I let it fade to black. I didn't notice the sun had gone down until my room was completely black, except for the glow of my phone. I'd been sitting on the edge of my bed for, 3 hours? 4? Time stopped meaning anything when your day had no structure, no obligations, nowhere to be. The blue light from the screen was the only thing illuminating the space, casting these weird shadows on the walls that made the room feel smaller than it actually was. My phone battery was at 12%. I'd burned through 88% of it doing absolutely nothing productive. Just scrolling, clicking, refreshing. Marcus's latest post had 847 likes now. I checked it 6 times in the last hour. The comment section was full of people I used to know, congratulating him, asking how he did it, calling him an inspiration. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to comment something, anything, just to remind him I still existed. But what would I even say? Congrats, man, felt hollow. So proud of you felt like a lie when I couldn't even be proud of myself. The notification bubbles kept floating up. More people winning, more people living, more evidence that the world was moving forward and I was stuck in place. My room had become this weird sanctuary/tomb. Safe because nobody could see me failing. Suffocating because I couldn't see a way out. I caught my reflection in the dark screen when it timed out. Hoodie up, shoulders slumped, face illuminated by the ghost of whatever app I'd just closed. I looked like I was mourning something. Maybe I was. Maybe I was mourning the person I thought I'd become by now. The person who was supposed to be keeping pace with Marcus, not watching him from the shadows. I didn't hear him come in because my mom still gives him a key like he's family, which I guess he is, which makes this whole thing worse. 1 second I was alone in the dark. The next there was a silhouette in my doorway, backlit by the hallway light like some kind of intervention angel. Marcus just stood there, one hand holding a beer, the other in his pocket, looking at me like he'd stumbled onto a crime scene. Leo? Not a question. Just my name, heavy with everything we weren't saying. I could see his expression even though he was mostly shadow, confusion mixed with something that looked like hurt. He wasn't dressed up, wasn't coming from some fancy event, just jeans and a denim shirt, the same outfit he'd wear when we used to just hang out for no reason. The light behind him made the contrast even more brutal. Him standing in brightness, me drowning in blue dark. The doorframe between us might as well have been a canyon. Your mom let me in, he said, like that explained why he was here. You haven't answered my calls in 3 weeks. I glanced at my phone. The screen was still glowing with his Instagram post. He definitely saw it. Of course he saw it. I've been busy, I said, which was such obvious bullshit that neither of us even pretended to believe it. He took a step forward, still in the doorway, not fully entering my space, but not leaving either. Busy avoiding me. Yeah, I got that part. His voice wasn't angry. It was worse than angry. It was concerned. What do you want, Marcus? He looked at me for a long moment. I want to know what I did wrong. And there it was. The question I'd been dreading, because the answer was nothing. He'd done absolutely nothing wrong, which somehow made everything worse. Something in me just snapped when he said that, like a dam I'd been building for months suddenly cracked wide open. You didn't do anything wrong, Marcus. That's the whole fucking problem. My voice came out louder than I meant it to, sharp enough that he actually took a step back. You did everything right. You got the job, you got the promotion, you made the list. You bought the place, you're living the exact life we said we'd both have, and I gestured around my dark room like it was evidence in a trial. I'm still here, in the same room, in the same life, going nowhere. Leo, no, let me finish because I've been holding this in and it's killing me. I stood up, phone still clutched in my hand. I can't be around you anymore because I hate who I am when I'm next to you. Every time we hang out, every time you tell me about your wins, every time you're just being you, I feel like I'm disappearing, like I'm becoming smaller and smaller until I'm just this background character in your success story. The words were tumbling out now, months of poison I'd been swallowing. You want to know why I've been avoiding you? Because watching you win feels like watching myself lose. And I know that's fucked up. I know I should be happy for you. I know you're my brother and I love you, but I can't. My voice cracked. I can't keep pretending I'm okay when every notification about your life is a reminder that mine is falling apart. Marcus just stood there, frozen in the doorway, and I realized I might have just blown up the only real thing I had left. The silence after my explosion lasted maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like 10 years. Then Marcus did something I didn't expect. He laughed, not a happy laugh. One of those bitter, exhausted laughs that means you're too tired to cry. He walked into my room, finally crossing that threshold, and sat down on the floor with his back against the wall. You think I'm winning? He took a long drink from his beer. Leo, I work 80-hour weeks. I haven't had a full night's sleep in 6 months. I'm on anxiety medication that I take in my car before I go into the office so nobody sees. That condo you think is so great? I'm barely there. It's just an expensive place to keep my stuff while I live at my desk. I stared at him, still standing, not sure what to do with this information. That 30 under 30 thing. You know what I got with that? More pressure, more expectations, more people watching me, waiting for me to prove I deserve to be on that list. I can't fuck up now, ever. One mistake, and I'm the diversity hire who didn't earn it, the kid from the block who got lucky and couldn't handle it. He looked up at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Marcus looked tired. Actually tired. Not just physically, but tired in his soul. And the worst part of all of it? His voice cracked now, too. I was losing my only real friend, and I didn't even know why. I thought maybe you were jealous, or you didn't need me anymore, or I'd somehow become the guy we used to make fun of. I've been showing up to all these events, smiling for all these pictures, and the whole time I'm thinking, I just want to call Leo. I looked down at my phone, still glowing with Marcus's Instagram in my hand, and I just let it go. Not dramatically. I didn't throw it or smash it. I just set it face down on the bed and left it there. For the first time in months, I didn't care about the notifications, the likes, the comments, the scoreboard I'd been using to measure my worth. I sat down on the floor next to Marcus, our backs against the wall like we used to sit on his mom's porch when we were kids. The room was still dark except for the light from the hallway. Neither of us said anything for a while. I'm sorry, I finally said, for ghosting you, for making your success about my failure, for turning you into the enemy when you never were. I'm sorry too, he said, for not checking in harder, for posting all that shit without thinking about how it might land, for assuming you were okay just because I wasn't. We sat there in the quiet, and for the first time in forever, it didn't feel heavy. It just felt like two people who'd been carrying too much finally setting it down. I think I need to quit this game, I said. This whole comparison thing, measuring myself against you, against everyone. It's not a race if we're not even running toward the same finish line. Marcus nodded. So what are you running toward? I don't know yet, I admitted. But I think that's okay. I think I just need to figure out what my race even looks like before I worry about how fast I'm going. He held out his beer. I grabbed mine from the nightstand. We clinked them together in the dark. Twin engines, he said. Different roads, I added. Same brotherhood. Here's what I learned sitting in that dark room with Marcus. Your value isn't a variable in someone else's equation. Comparison is a rigged game where everyone loses. It turns your best friends into benchmarks, your home into a cell, your highlight reel into a horror show. The scoreboard is fake. The finish line keeps moving. And while you're busy measuring yourself against everyone else's edited version of reality, you're missing the only race that actually matters, being better than who you were yesterday. Because here's the truth. The world might care about your resume, your follower count, your net worth, but your real friends, They just care that you're still in the room. If this story touched you, remember you don't need to be a champion to make a difference. You need the courage to stand for what's right, the humility to admit you're wrong, and the generosity to lift others up. That is the kind of strength that changes the world. Thank you for watching to the end. If today's story touched you even a little, please hit subscribe so you won't miss new episodes every week. Which moment did you like most in the story? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, so the algorithm knows you want more. Stories of justice and healing. If you're watching from a particular city, share where you're tuning in from. I'd love to see how wide our community reaches. See you next episode. A secret unlocked. By a late apology, tap the bell to get notified the moment it goes live.